country club tennis court buzzed with laughter under the late afternoon sun. Executives, investors, and their families gathered around, drinks in hand, enjoying what was meant to be a light-hearted charity tournament. For most of them, it was about networking and showing status, not competition. Standing near the fence in worn sneakers and a borrowed racket was Aaron, the club's janitor. A single dad, he had been asked to help clean up after the event. His young daughter sat nearby on a bench, quietly reading, used to waiting for her father to finish long shifts. The CEO of the hosting company, Richard Hale, bounced a tennis ball against the court with a smirk. Known for his arrogance as much as his wealth, Richard loved an audience. When he noticed Aaron watching the match with calm interest, he laughed loudly. "You play?" Richard asked mockingly. Aaron shrugged. "A little, used to." The crowd chuckled. Someone whispered, "This should be good." Richard grinned wider. "Tell you what," he said, raising his voice so everyone could hear. "Beat me in one set and I'll marry you off to my daughter." Laughter erupted. "Don't worry," he added, glancing at Aaron's clothes. "You won't." Aaron's daughter looked up, confused. "Daddy?" she whispered. Aaron felt heat rise to his face, but his voice stayed steady. "I'm just here to work, sir." "Oh, come on," Richard pressed. "It's charity, give the crowd a show." Silence followed. The laughter thinned. People sensed the line had been crossed, but no one spoke up. Aaron looked down at his daughter, then back at the court. Years ago, before life unraveled, tennis had been his escape. Before his wife's illness. Before medical bills forced him to sell everything that didn't keep a roof over their heads. "I'll play," Aaron said quietly. Richard blinked, surprised, then laughed again. "Perfect." As Aaron stepped onto the court, murmurs rippled through the crowd. The janitor adjusted his grip, eyes scanning the baseline with familiarity that didn't match his uniform. He rolled his shoulders once, calm, focused. The first serve came fast. Aaron returned it effortlessly. The sound of racket meeting ball was sharp, clean. Heads turned. A few smiles faded. Richard's grin faltered, just slightly. Aaron moved with practiced ease, footwork precise, timing flawless, not flashy. Efficient. With each rally, the crowd grew quieter. No one understood it yet. But something about the way he played told a story. Not of luck, not of a fluke. Of someone who had once belonged on courts like this. And as the ball streaked past Richard for the third unanswered point, the laughter died completely, replaced by a frozen, uneasy silence. Because the crowd was starting to realize, the janitor had a secret. The fourth rally ended with the ball skimming the line, landing cleanly in the corner. Silence followed, thick and heavy. Someone clapped once uncertainly, then stopped. All eyes were on Aaron now. Richard straightened, annoyance flickering across his face. "Beginner's luck," he muttered, wiping sweat from his brow. He served harder this time, putting force behind every swing, trying to reassert control. It didn't work. Aaron returned each serve with quiet precision. He didn't celebrate points, he didn't look at the crowd. His focus never left the ball. The court seemed to shrink around him, muscle memory taking over, years of discipline resurfacing with every step. Whispers spread. "Where did he learn to play like that?" "That's not casual tennis." "Look at his footwork." On the sidelines, Aaron's daughter watched with wide eyes. She had seen her father tired, worried, and worn down, but never like this. Never so sure of himself. Richard missed an easy volley. The score tilted further. Frustration crept into his movements, his smirk long gone. Between points, one of the older club members leaned toward a woman beside him. "You know," he said slowly, "this reminds me of a player I used to watch years ago. College championships, national ranking." The woman frowned. "That player quit suddenly, family emergency, I think." The realization began to ripple. Aaron served again, clean ace. Gasps followed. Richard slammed his racket against his shoe. "Who are you?" he snapped. Aaron paused, bouncing the ball once. For the first time he looked up, past Richard, past the crowd, then answered calmly. "I was a top-ranked collegiate player," he said, "before my wife got sick, before I became a single dad." The words landed harder than any serve. The crowd froze. Richard's face drained of color. Laughter from earlier echoed in everyone's memory, suddenly cruel and small. The insult now had a weight no one could ignore. Play resumed, but the energy had changed. Every point Aaron won felt inevitable. Every miss by Richard tightened the knot of embarrassment spreading through the audience. When the final ball sailed long off Richard's racket, the set was over. Aaron had won. No cheering followed. Just stunned silence, followed by slow, rising applause. Not for the spectacle, but for the dignity of a man who had endured far more than mockery. Richard stood frozen at the net, and for the first time in his life he didn't know what to say. The applause grew steadier, deeper, until it filled the court. Not loud or flashy, respectful, earned. Aaron rested his racket against his leg, breathing evenly, as if he had just finished a routine drill rather than humbled one of the most powerful men in the city. Richard stepped forward to the net, his face tight. For a moment it seemed like he might argue, laugh it off, turn it into a joke the way men like him often did. Instead he extended his hand. "I spoke out of line," Richard said, his voice carrying across the quiet court. "That was wrong." Aaron hesitated, then shook his hand. "We all say things we don't mean sometimes." Richard swallowed. He turned toward the crowd, then back to Aaron. "You don't belong cleaning courts," he said. "You belong on them." Aaron smiled faintly. "Life doesn't always ask where you belong. It asks what you're willing to do for the people you love." Richard glanced toward Aaron's daughter, sitting up straighter now, pride shining in her eyes. Something shifted behind his own. "I meant what I said about charity," Richard added. "But I won't hide behind it. I insulted you publicly." He paused. "Let me fix that." Later that evening, as the sun dipped low and the crowd thinned, Richard invited Aaron into the club office. No audience, no cameras, just two men across a desk. "I fund an athletic foundation," Richard said. "Coaching positions, youth programs, scholarships. I'd like you to lead one." Aaron blinked. "I haven't competed in years." "I'm not asking you to compete," Richard replied. "I'm asking you to teach discipline, resilience, skill, and I'll make sure the hours work for you and your daughter." Silence stretched. Then Aaron nodded once. "If it helps kids who don't get chances, I'm in." Richard stood, extending his hand again, this time without arrogance. As Aaron left the club with his daughter, the sky painted in gold and blue, she looked up at him. "Daddy," she said softly, "you were amazing." Aaron squeezed her hand. "I was just myself." The next week, the janitor's name was quietly removed from the cleaning roster. In its place appeared a new title, head coach, because sometimes the secret isn't hidden talent. It's the strength to carry it quietly, until the right moment demands it be seen.